Hi, and welcome to Free to Be Ourselves. I'm Alexandra, and I created this space for us to talk about all the things: human design, astrology, creativity, tools to navigate this human experience. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy this. Hi, and welcome to the Free to Be Ourselves podcast. My name is Alexandra. So nice to meet you. This is the very first episode of a brand new journey project that I'm launching this week. I officially created the Substack on November 11th. I figured, 11/11, it's always good luck, so I thought it would be a really good day to officially create the Free to Be Ourselves podcast. So I think I'll just start with that. Starting before you're ready. You know that very common phrase that we say, start before you're ready. That's something I've been hearing a lot in the past few weeks. Somehow it just came up to me many, many times, and I wrote it down in my phone, on my notes app, and I still waited. It took me a whole good week before I sat down to talk to you through this mic and press record. So I think that's a very common pattern that we all have, whenever we're actually interested in something, or whenever we have a project that's really dear to us, we tend to procrastinate. And why is that? Is that the fear of failure? Probably. It's many other things as well. But I think I just want to share the background behind Free to Be Ourselves, why I decided to name this podcast this way, why I named it like that. And yeah, so it goes back to 2019, actually. I had just moved to Vancouver. It was November 2019, funny enough. So today we are November 28th. I'm just realizing that. It's pretty interesting that I finally kind of create something out of this many years later, 5 years later to be exact. And I just saw 2 minutes 22 on the timer on my phone. So I guess, did I need more confirmations that it was time? I guess not. But so 2019, I was just discovering the West Coast vibes because I'm a Montrealer. So I'm from Montreal, Canada. My first language, as you may notice, is not English. It's my second language. My first language is French. So I grew up in a very French environment, and came 2019, decided to drive across Canada, ended up in Vancouver, fell in love, decided to move there. And so I was just building my own brand new life as a 26-year-old in Vancouver. So yeah, at the time, I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life, because I had just graduated from a 3.5 or even 8 months. So 3 years and 8 months of studies in translation from English to French. And I already really disliked it. All I was thinking about was finding a way to escape my very, very boring reality. And so that is kind of how I ended up out there in Vancouver. Didn't think I would share all of these bits about how I ended up out there, but yeah, I could talk about it forever because there are so many important events that kind of led to this brand new chapter in my life at the time. November 2019, let's just say it was the start of a new version of me. And at the time, I had, for some reason, one day I woke up and there were two words actually. It was moon bright and free to be ourselves. they kind of presented themselves to me somehow, and I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I just had a deep feeling that I needed to create something that was more of a movement or a community around this idea that we're all meant to express the colors that we decide are actually true to ourselves. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's how I would just describe it. The raw idea, the way I saw it at the time at least, it was just that, like a deep need to express myself without any constraints, without any self, I was going to say self censorship. I'm not even sure if it's a word, but basically just expressing myself without caring what other people think, you know? I think most people actually just like lead most of their lives with a need for approval. And that is how Free to Be Yourselves kind of showed up to me at the time. And I ended up having so many projects on the go, the biggest one being my music. I was just starting to kind of own the fact that I wanted to make music as my career. And all I wanted to do was to write songs and sing and share my songs and record an album. And those things take a lot of energy. And so as a manifestor, if you know anything about human design, I'm a manifestor in human design, and my sacral chakra is undefined. Therefore, I tend to have all of these beautiful ideas, but not enough energy to kind of follow through with everything. So to circle back on the Free to Be Yourselves, how it was born in November 2019 at first. The first birth of Free to Be Ourselves was just that, I wrote down a manifesto, which I'm pretty sure I still have because I keep all of my notebooks, and I even take photos of my notebooks to make sure I keep the pages and I have the memories with me. So I can probably find it somewhere. But yeah, I remember writing a manifesto, didn't know what it was going to be like, kind of just put it on the side for a long time. And then years later came the fall of 2023, so last year. It came back to me again, and I didn't really know why. And I went to LA for 2 weeks, stayed there, reconnected with the West Coast because I do live in Montreal now. I moved back to Montreal in 2022. And so, 2023, I'm in LA and I'm reconnecting with, I guess, some parts of myself that I left on the West Coast, even if it's not the same place. Vancouver and LA are still pretty close in my mind. So I was there and I just kept thinking about it, and I wanted to create something, didn't really know why once again. I wanted to talk about all of the modalities that I've explored with astrology, human design. I have worked a lot on understanding my intuition, just discovering myself, basically. And these topics, I didn't really know how to share them through that musician, songwriter hat, because even if I consider myself an artist, as a songwriter, for example, I find that this label is so small. It's still so small to me because I have all of these colors, or all of these interests, basically, that I'm passionate about, that I'm exploring daily. And yeah, I feel like it's very limiting, is what I'm trying to say. So last year, I wanted to actually do something with Free to Be Ourselves. And so as soon as I came back, I created a website. I had already bought the domain freetobeourselves.com, I believe in October 2023, or even maybe before that. I'll have to check. But I already had the domain name. And so I officialized the whole thing in January, and I created the whole Squarespace thing. But then life happened. Many things happened. And I figured, well, I'm going to focus on my new album that I'm releasing in May, and I'm just going to put this aside again. So came September of this year, 2024, I started the Trauma of Money program. I'm halfway through the program already. I think it's been 10 weeks. And the IFS modality came up quite often in the first classes. And it just clicked in my mind. It's as if I wasn't ready before that to truly understand what free to be ourselves meant. And exploring more of IFS, which is internal family system. I'll definitely talk more about it in probably multiple episodes. But for now, if you haven't heard of it, I would highly recommend that you explore and just do some research on the internal family system and acknowledging, or actually to me, this does make a lot of sense. Maybe for some people it doesn't, but seeing myself with a capital S as my essence and other parts of myself being around the self with a capital S. Just exploring even that possibility that we have different selves within ourselves. It kind of like blew my mind. So I'm still at the very beginning of my journey with IFS. There's so much to learn for sure with this, but I don't know. It just, the fact that it kind of came up randomly in my life again, I was like, oh, okay, I think now I get it. It's not only being free to express ourselves, it's more like being free to own every single part of ourselves and deciding which one you are becoming today or which one you're expressing today, or just acknowledging that they can all coexist and none of them is bad. So yeah, that is the background for Free to Be Yourselves. I think today I'm just gonna keep it at that. It's kind of an introduction that goes in all the different places. And if you are still listening right now, thank you. It probably means that your brain also works in similar ways as mine if you were able to understand me, because that's something I realized, especially lately, as I have been exploring neurodiversity a lot. If you've never heard of tree thinking, again, I would invite you to look it up because it's so interesting. And I totally relate to the tree thinking. That way of just seeing patterns and ideas in my mind, to me, they are all interconnected at all times. So I'm kind of all over the place, but at the same time, in my mind, it's all connected. So hopefully you kind of got a few things out of this. There are so many tools I want to share. I'm not sure exactly how this new podcast and project is going to unfold, but my intention is to share all these resources and, like I said, modalities, astrology, human design, just basically experiments that I have been doing since 2019. That even before that, actually, 2017 was the start of my quote unquote spiritual awakening. I feel like we have many spiritual awakenings throughout our lives, but that was the big one for me, 2017. And so since then, I started exploring astrology, and the more I read, and I read like charts or just read on the subject, as time goes on, I'm just amazed at how there are no coincidences. And even the fact that today you're listening to this, I don't know when you listen to it, but just considering the idea that maybe you'll listen to this episode 2 years from now, it's kind of mind blowing. It's like we can capture things through audio and video, and they're fixed in time, and they'll stay there for the moment that you're ready to listen to it or to watch it, you know? Okay, so just a thought. Super philosophical. Yeah, philosophical. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. I'd love to hear your thoughts, suggestions. I'm just at the start of this. I don't know what I'm doing, but let's start before we're ready. Yeah, let's start before we're ready. Wow. We're ready. Yeah. Okay, talk to you soon.